All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon, YouTube. This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BoxingWave10. Make sure you also hit that like button and support the channel. All right, so another quick live. Let's talk Devin Haney and Lomachenko. What's up, Josh? Let's talk Devin Haney and Lomachenko. And then we're gonna get a little bit into Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola. And all right, so let's get into it. Devin Haney, Lomachenko. Now, normally I don't really make videos about fighters going back and forth on Twitter. Right? I don't really care for the gossip. I care more about fights being scheduled. You know, I don't really care about the back and forth. I don't care about call outs anymore. I already expressed that to you guys. A lot of these guys are just using each other's names to promote their upcoming fights. They're not normally going to fight each other. They're just using each other's names. And Twitter is become another form of promotion. You know, the back and forths usually doesn't lead up into anything. All right. But the reason why I'm making a video on this particular fight is because I think it can actually happen, but not next. I think this fight could actually happen at some point. Devin Haney, and I think Devin Haney really, really needs a name on his resume. Out of the top guys at 135, and if you including Tank Davis, who's at 130, out of everybody there, all of these guys, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Vasil Lomachenko, and even Tank, I think Devin Haney really, really needs that name on a resume. And I really don't think he's at fault with any of this because verbally he's been willing to fight anybody. You know, it's just that everybody has fought someone else besides him. And that's really not his fault. But what I think this back and forth between him and Loma on Twitter, which is cute. It's cute. It's funny to watch. You know, the little jokes back and forth, the little slander. I like it. I like it. I do think that they might actually fight. And the reason why I say not next, but maybe in the future, is because I do believe that Lomachenko is probably going to fight Nakatani. That seems more realistic. That's the reports that we got a couple weeks ago. And I also believe that Devin Haney is probably going to fight either Javier Fortuna next or Jorge Linares. All right. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. King Frog, Josh, everyone that's joining in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So listen, I just believe those are more believable fights. You know, I just think that Nakatani, all of those are good fights, by the way. Nakatani, good opponent, gave a tough fight to Teofimo Lopez. Gave was able to stop Felix Verdejo. He was knocked down. He was hurt early. He was being outboxed, and he was able to come back and stop Verdejo late in that fight, which was a good stoppage. Verdejo was only had one loss on his record leading up to that. Good fight. Nakatani is formidable opponent at this point. He's proven it to me. I like him. All right. And if Vasil Lomachenko is going to fight him next, that's cool. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with both Linares or Fortuna being Devin Haney's next opponent. Even if Vasil Lomachenko were to fight a Fortuna, that would be a good opponent. Fortuna has been in there with a lot of guys. All right. A lot of fun fights he's been involved in. I think Linares is definitely the more difficult fight. I think Fortuna is very explosive. I think he has a lot of power, but Linares is much more well-rounded. He's an excellent boxer. And he's came out and said recently that he beat Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia in sparring, you know? Now I don't know how much that is true, but I would believe that. I mean, he's a much more seasoned vet. So if he had sparred them at some point, I believe it. And it's cool. But he's a former champion. I think he's just a great boxer, even with the loss of Lomachenko, even though he got knocked out on his move up to 140 recently. And, he got knocked out coming off of that loss. He's been there before. He's lost 2 fights back to back before, and I really don't have a problem with him coming back and, fighting Lomachenko, or not Lomachenko, Devin Haney. Linares is a much more proven fighter than anyone that Devin Haney has been in the ring with. And being that Teofimo Lopez, a guy that he wants to face, Teo he's going on to fight Kambosos. And to me, at that stage, Teofimo Lopez will have, at that point, 4 fighters under his resume that would be better than anyone that Devin Haney has fought, in my opinion. I know people were going to say Gamboa. Gamboa was very, very good a very long time ago. It's been a really long time since Gamboa was a real threat to anyone. Okay. Really, really, really long time ago. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. What's up, Captain? What's going on, man? Nas, Punch Quote, Deuce, what's up? Everybody that's joining in. All right, so I think that if Devin Haney is to win his next fight against Fortuna, Linares, I hope it's Linares, but I'm good with Fortuna. If he is to win that fight, I think those wins, especially against Linares, are great wins to have. And if Lomachenko is to be a Nakatani, those two should fight each other, because I don't think Lopez is going to give Lomachenko a rematch. I just don't think he's going to do it. Just the way that he's talking, would he? Should he? I'm great if they were to rematch each other, but I don't think it's going to happen, because Teo is talking a whole bunch of stuff. Excuse me. He's talking about moving up to 140. He's talking about everything but fighting Lomachenko again. He's clearly not interested in fighting Lomachenko again, and he doesn't have to. But I think that Lomachenko putting himself in position to maybe have a fight against Teo mandated in the future by beating a Devin Haney, I think that would be the right move to make if he's trying to get that rematch going. All right. But I don't think it's going to happen next. I think these guys are on Twitter. I think they're both just promoting their next fights. I don't really think they're actually going to fight each other next. If they do fight each other, I think it'll be maybe after their next fights, but it's a fight that should happen if they are to win their next fights, because I don't know what Devin Haney is thinking. I know I did hear him say on Akin Barak that he wasn't really interested because Loma already lost. I think if he has the opportunity to fight Lomachenko still, he should definitely take the fight. I just think that it should happen, man. It's a good win still. It's still a good win. I know Loma lost to Teo, but a lot of people feel that fight was a draw, and a lot of people really want the rematch because of how Loma performed in the second half of that fight. Now, I think Teo lost the fight. Teo won the fight, me personally. I think he won and secured enough rounds early to secure the win. But if they are to rematch, whatever, I don't care. But I do think that it'll be a good fight for both Lomachenko and Devin Haney. Devin Haney needs a fight like that to prove himself and to give people a reason to want to fight him. Because right now everybody's just saying all the feedback that I get from Devin Haney is that who has he fought? He's overrated. He doesn't look that good. He's boring. Yada yada yada. But he seems to be the only guy that is willing to face anybody. So if he is really, willing to face everybody, then fight Lomachenko. You know, if the opportunity is there. Listen, if these guys can actually fight next and this Twitter back and forth thing is a real thing, then fight now. But I think they're going to have a fight before that fight happens. And either way, I'm cool with. I just don't want this to be another Twitter back and forth that really doesn't result in anything but Twitter back and forth, which we always get. All right. Make sure you guys hit that like button as soon as you join in. Shout out to everyone's coming in. Dean, Noah, what's up, man? Shadow Boxing, what's going on? Mark Pinkerton, what's up? Yeah, so look, that's the way I see it. And I think it's a good fight for both. And I think for Loma, listen, if he fights Devin Haney and wins, that would be, a lot of people don't feel like Lomachenko belongs at 135, even with the, being unified, holding 3 titles at the division and then losing. A lot of people still feel that he's too small for 135. So if you are to beat a young, undefeated fighter like a Devin Haney, it would be a great win amongst other wins that he has at 135. But that would be another great win. And I think that would end that talk of him not being big enough to fight at 135. All right. And getting that win, securing that win is just a good win, a good way to get yourself back in there and keeping yourself there. If he were to fight a Devin Haney and actually lose a fight, maybe he should go back down to 130. If he is to lose to Tio and then lose to Devin Haney after that, maybe it would be time to go back down to 130. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney on the other end, if he is to win against Lomachenko and possibly outperform Teofimo Lopez, that would be great. He would always have that in his back pocket. Like, listen, I beat Lomachenko. I did it better than you. Even if he doesn't do it better, but if he secures a win, securing a win against Lomachenko is still a great win. I don't know why it's a big deal. It's not as big of a fight anymore because he lost to Teofimo Lopez. I just think that whole way of thinking, it just goes to show how boxing fans are today. Like, you lose a fight, it's over. It's like no one cares anymore about you once you lose a fight, especially a fight like that where it wasn't a domination. Teofimo did not knock him out. Even though I think he won clearly, it was because of the inactivity of Lomachenko. All right. So I think it would be a good win for both. And I don't think either one that loses that fight, I don't think neither one of their careers would be over, including Lomachenko. It doesn't matter if he lost a T already. It still doesn't mean his career is over. There's other options out there. There's other fighters out there at 135, at 130. I just don't think that fighters lose and then it's over for them. Like, that whole way of thinking is just ridiculous to me, But I don't want this to just result in Twitter fingers and nothing more. This funny tweets, funny back and forth. I don't want that to be. Like, I'm getting tired of it. It's becoming the new norm. Let's just promote. Let's talk about each other, but not actually fight each other. Let's just promote our upcoming fights, which I think they probably already have secured that, and we don't know. Let me read some of the comments here. Nas, as far as covering the UFC card this weekend, I might, if I can. I am a busy guy. I might be leaving the city this weekend. So if I am, I'm probably not going to be able to cover the UFC card. All right. I was trying to hoping I could cover the Clarissa Shields card. All right. High pause. Haney Garcia fight. It's the fight of the generation, or is it a scam? I wouldn't call it a fight of generation. I wouldn't call it that. Haney and Garcia is a good fight. These guys are definitely rivals. They have history with each other. They know each other. That's all it is to me. It's a good fight. It's a fight that should happen. It kind of reminds me of Tito and Oscar, but Tito and Oscar did a whole lot more before they end up facing each other. So this is why I could see that fight between Devin Haney and Ryan happening in the future. But I also see like, yo, if one of them is to lose before facing each other, they may not face each other. You know, it's just weird, like how boxing is. I know Devin wants to fight more. Ryan seems to keep pushing off the fight, but Ryan is basing that off his popularity. You know, like he thinks he's too big to fight someone like Devin Haney, and Devin Haney might beat him. It might ruin some of his popularity too. So I can see why they're kind of ducking in a way. You know, they are ducking because you could fight the guy. I mean, I don't see why. You know, why not? You know, if you really believe that you're as good as you say you are, fight Devin Haney right now. You know, if Devin Haney is overrated, which a lot of people believe he is, and if Ryan feels that he can actually beat Devin Haney, he should fight him right now. All right. I'll get to Ruiz in a little bit. I know you guys are talking about George is proven at 135 as Haney. Neither have beaten any more of note. George beat Lee Selby, who's all right. Okay, yeah, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, what I was saying is that Teofimo Lopez fighting George Kambosos. George Kambosos is better than anyone that Devin Haney currently fought. I'm not saying George is better than Haney or, you know, what I'm saying is that George right now today is better than anyone that Haney has fought on his resume. He's not better than Haney, but he's better than anyone that Haney has fought up to this point. Well, Loma versus Haney, and I've explained this so many times over, ducking Haney. The thing with that is, G Funky, what's up, man? The thing with that is, and I always say this, at what point did Loma actually duck Haney? I just never understood that. At what point was he supposed to fight Haney? What specific time period? Because Loma won the title by beating Luke Campbell. And then right after that, he unified against Teo Lopez and lost. So where was the duck? In between that time, Devin Haney fought Santiago and then was out on surgery. And then we had the pandemic. And then Devin Haney came back and fought Gamboa off of surgery. So what period was it duck? Because was Loma supposed to fight? He didn't even have the title. He fought and beat Luke in order to get the title. So he was champion at that point. And then Haney had his fight with Santiago. And then he had surgery. He was out. And I would want him to have his surgery and be full 100% before fighting Lomachenko. Like, let's just say Loma fought Haney right after he beat Luke Campbell. Haney would have been coming off of the Santiago win with shoulder injury. You know what I'm saying? So there was never a period where Loma was supposed to actually fight him, you know, and defend that title. And still, even if you're removing the surgery out of the scenario, Loma chose to fight and unify against Teofimo Lopez, who was undefeated and coming off of a Comey second round knockout victory, which is a bigger victory. Teofimo Lopez was more dangerous on paper than Devin Haney at the time. Plus, he came in with a title. So I don't know why people say that. You know, I don't know why people are still saying that. I think I don't like the franchise title thing. I don't like it because it does on paper, it made it where he doesn't have to fight mandatory. But regardless, there was never still a period on when he was supposed to fight Haney. You know, and I've said this over and over again. I've been saying this for at least 2 years now. You know, I've been saying this for a while. Um, I don't know. I don't know where that was created. I don't know, man. I mean, I like Devin Haney, and like I said, I don't think Haney has done anything wrong in his career. He's the only fighter that of the young fighters that I feel has never ducked anyone. But at the same time, saying that Lomachenko ducked him, where was the duck? At what point? You know, I don't like the franchise title, but it still was never, even if there wasn't a franchise title involved in this, still, it's not like he was going to fight Haney next anyway. He fought a unified fight with Teofimo Lopez. When was the duck? And now he lost to Lopez. So now he doesn't hold the title right now. Devin Haney is still the WBC champion. And, neither one of them technically don't have a fight scheduled right now. So they're on Twitter going back and forth. They should fight right now. I don't believe the fight will happen right now. Again, if you're just coming in, I think Loma is going to fight Nakatani, and I think Devin Haney is going to fight Linares or Fortuna, which are all good fights. But I think if these guys are going to have those fights, I think that they should fight each other after they both win those fights. If they both win those fights, those are both tough fights. All right. I'm not going to be able to respond to every comment in here. What's up, Coyote? What's up, man? Yeah, I'm just trying to get back into it. I take my YouTube breaks. But yeah, to be honest, man, I took a little break, but there wasn't much happening on here. Everybody was talking about Wilder and his old coach, and I don't really care about that stuff. I don't really be missing much. Trust me, I will definitely make videos, but we've been having a slow year in boxing so far. The plan for Loma was to fight the Lopez versus Comey winner before people were even thinking of Haney. Exactly. Because that's a unification that trumps the Devin Haney WBC situation, and Teofimo Lopez knocked out Comey in 2 rounds. He beat Nakatani and he knocked out Comey in 2 rounds. That's a more respected, dangerous opponent. Period. That's just being rational here. That's not about who we like better. You might like Haney better than Teo, but Teo has done more before he fought Lomachenko. And I think if Haney keeps working, he's gonna get his shot. He's gonna get his opportunity. At some point, someone's gonna have to face Devin Haney. I just hope that he's up for the challenge, because you going in there, if Haney ends up fighting Linares, let me tell you something. That is a 50-50 fight. That is a 50-50 fight. And if Haney loses to Linares, I will not be surprised, because Linares is that good. And listen, if you're going to go 12 rounds with Linares like you went with Gamboa, that's going to be a harder fight to win rounds in than Gamboa or Santiago. That is a hard fight. That guy can box really well. Linares has been stopped. But if you're going 12 rounds with Linares, that is going to be a pretty difficult guy to beat 12 in 12 rounds. So you got to be careful. Like, if Haney isn't as good as some of us believe he is, he may lose that fight and get exposed. He might get exposed in that fight, because there's still a lot more that we need to learn about him. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Who do I think wins, Fury or AJ? I think AJ wins the fight. I think AJ is going to win the fight. All right, that is my pick. I'll do a thorough breakdown at some point if these guys are actually going to fight. I really don't believe that they're going to fight next. That's just me. I hope they do. I hope it happens. You know, they're saying June, but I can't see Tyson Fury taking AJ in his first fight back. You know, I just don't see it, man. All right. So look, let's talk about Andy Ruiz fighting Chris Arreola. A fight that we all knew was coming at some point, but it's Fox pay-per-view. And people think pay-per-view is a big deal. And look, I am not surprised at all. I knew whoever Andy Ruiz was going to face, I knew it was going to be a pay-per-view. I am not surprised. They want to see what kind of numbers this guy can actually do. Is Andy Ruiz actually pay-per-view? Do I think this fight is pay-per-view worthy? Absolutely not. Okay. And Chris Arreola in a pay-per-view in 2021 is ridiculous to me. You know, and that's no disrespect to Chris Arreola. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a gentleman. I met him before. Good dude, you know, but this is not a pay-per-view fight, you know, and Chris Arreola, it will be almost 2 years since he's fought, and he's coming off of a loss and a good fight against Adam Karnowski, which was a great fight. It was a great war. Chris is a tough dude. He's been in there with the best in the last generation, you know, but he's going to be 40. And this is not he's lost and got knocked out by guys that are not even on Andy Ruiz's level. Okay. You know, I was looking at his box record, and his first loss to Berman Sabern was 8 years ago. 8 years ago. And the second loss was the fight right after that, which was the very next year. It's like Chris is a good dude. I like Chris. He's a fun fighter to watch, you know. But this is not a pay-per-view. But I knew that they were going to make a pay-per-view no matter who they put Andy Ruiz against. You know, and the thing with Andy Ruiz, he's coming off of a loss as well. Not only is he coming off of a loss to AJ, it's not a fact that he lost the fight, but he was extremely overweight. All right. He didn't even prepare for the fight like he should have. Coming off of a loss like that and being rewarded as a pay-per-view fighter, it just doesn't make sense. You know? So no, the fight is not a pay-per-view fight in my eyes. But I feel like when certain fighters win certain fights and they have a big enough following, they're going to go and gamble with the pay-per-view. And, you know, it's nothing to lose there because, you know, you're not making any money anyway. You can't you can't pack out arenas like you used to. You know, we're still social distancing somewhat. So I don't know. You know, I just feel like they were going to make one anyway with him. You know, it's just like when Wilder and Fury had their pay-per-view. I was surprised that Wilder versus Brazil wasn't a pay-per-view. I was surprised because I feel like once you have a pay-per-view, you're just going to stay in pay-per-view mode. You know, Spence versus Ugas is probably going to be a pay-per-view. Once you're a pay-per-view, like Tank and the rest of his fights, whoever he fights, is probably going to be a pay-per-view. Once you have a pay-per-view, you're most likely going to have a pay-per-view. And that's how it is, you know. Shout out to everyone that's joining. Make sure you hit that like button to support the channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that. And you know, Andy Ruiz, he's with Eddie Reynoso now. I'm thinking he should definitely, he looks like he's weighing less. He should definitely at the bare minimum be around the same weight he was when he fought AJ in the first fight. But I think You know what? This fight would have been a fun fight years ago, but I don't think that at any point Andy Ruiz would have lost to Chris Arreola, even an older, more of his prime Chris Arreola. You know, I think at the very best, they would have went to war with each other, and would have definitely been a good war back in the day if Chris Arreola was in his prime. But right now, I can't see Chris really giving Andy much of a fight. You know, Chris is kind of a slugger, and Andy is, you know, got the right dimensions and the right style to destroy Chris Arreola right now. You know, and that's if even if Andy was on his worst day again, like he was against the AJ in a rematch, I still see him beating Chris Arreola, because Chris is not going to be fighting a rangy fight and trying to control the distance. No, he's going to fight. Listen, you know, if he fights Andy like the way he fought Kalinowski, which he will, because that's all he knows, Ruiz is going to destroy him. Ruiz is better than Adam Kanowski. You know, he's better than Berman Stavern. Andy Ruiz is better than Berman Stavern. Even at that point, he's better. He's better. You know, so it is what it is, man. I mean, being in pay-per-view, yo, don't like the pay-per-view, don't pay for it, but they're gonna have them because they're gonna want to make their money, man. And it's not like I'm supporting it, but I'm tired of just talking about how fights shouldn't be pay-per-view, because they don't care. They're like, listen, we're gonna put on a fight, and the people that wants to pay for it, they will pay for it. People that really support Andy Ruiz will pay for the fight. They'll make their extra money. You know, they're not trying to get viewership. They're not trying to get eyes on Andy Ruiz. They're looking at it like, let's make our money. You know, I mean, it could be a showcase fight. It could have went that way, but they know what it is, and they know it's going to be a knockout. Ruiz is going to knock out Chris Arreola. You know, the numbers are probably going to be bad, but they're going to make their little bit of money any way they can. You know, if they can get 100K viewers or 150K viewers, I can't see it being any more than 150. But if they're going to get that, they're going to say, all right, well, 100K viewers and $80 a pop, whatever it's going to be. They're going to look at it, well, at least we made a little bit of money, you know? We're not going to make any money at the gate, you know, or at least not a lot of money at the gate. You know, and I think that's the way things are going to be now. Sorry for the background noise. They're doing construction outside, but yeah, that's the way it is, man. Let me check out some of the comments here. I know you guys have been this, but yo, the thing is, what are the other options there? Are they going to lose money by making it a pay-per-view? Are they going to lose money? I don't think so, you know? I think Devin beat Linares nonetheless. Good fight. It's going to be a 50-50 fight. That's a good fight. I'm going to probably lean towards Haney as well, though. I think everyone in Haney's class, him, Tio Shakur, and Ryan Garcia, have done more than him as a pro, in my opinion. I agree. I agree. Nobody's saying he's a bum. He's just a prospect. If you're talking about Haney, I mean, not going to argue with that. Yeah, he gave Loma all kind of trouble and dropped Loma in 10 rounds. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dillian White will be soon assist in his sixth pay-per-view, and he's not won any belt past British title. Yeah, but the Brits are different and they support their fighters. Dillian White pack out arenas. All right, and I don't believe their pay-per-views are a lot cheaper. And I don't know, I wouldn't know what it's like to always pay for pay-per-views on Sky Sports and stuff, because normally they'll just show his fights here on the zone, you know. So I'm paying the subscription, whereas if the zone is not available out there, you guys have to pay for the pay-per-view on Sky Sports, which we don't have access to. I can't believe Arreola is going to be pay-per-view. Yeah, I can't believe it either, man. And, you know, again, Arreola is a cool dude. He always brings a good fight, but he is not a pay-per-view in 2021. That is crazy. It is crazy. But I am not surprised, because it's all about Andy Ruiz and making a little bit of money, extra money that they can, you know. I don't think, you know what, Ruiz and Arreola, 100K. That's when I'm expecting it to be, you know. They're trying to make as much money as they can. And they, you know what? Yeah, G Funky, I agree. I don't mind the Arreola fight. I never minded. I think that's a good fight to come off loss, and you're coming off, you're whipping yourself back in the shape. This is post-pandemic. So I don't mind the Arreola fight at all. You know, it's just that, why is it a pay-per-view? But I know why it's a pay-per-view, because they're gonna make everything a pay-per-view, and they're gonna see what they're gonna they the thing is, I really personally think that Ruiz is gonna fight Arreola, and Wilder is gonna come back and fight someone, maybe Charles Martin, who knows. But I think they are gearing up for Wilder and Ruiz to clash for a pay-per-view, you know. And depending, you know, and I think that's a pay-per-view. And I think that's a pay-per-view, judging it off whatever they look like in their next fights. Even if they look like crack. If Wilder comes back and wins, but he looks terrible winning, Ruiz, it looks bad against Chris Arreola, but ends up winning, it's going to be a pay-per-view regardless, because of their names at this point. You know, Ruiz is the guy that beat Anthony Joshua. Now people know who he is. So they're going to make a pay-per-view no matter who they put him against. It's going to be a pay-per-view. Wilder pay-per-view. All Wilder future fights, no matter who it is probably going to be a pay-per-view. Against Charles Martin, if they make it Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola a pay-per-view, Deontay Wilder against Charles Martin will be a pay-per-view. There's not going to be no more free fights on television. I don't think Clarissa does better pay-per-view numbers than Ruiz Arreola, and that's just being real. I think Clarissa fight the best of the best of the best, which is, this is a very good fight for her. It doesn't matter. I don't think she's gonna do well pay-per-view. Yeah, I just don't think so. Unfortunately, you know. All due respect, Ruiz and Ariel, get the money while you can, but nobody buying that shit. Yeah, yo, this is gonna be the fight that most people are probably gonna be streaming for free some way. You know, use a Fire Sticks to watch this. You need two fighters to sell a pay-per-view. Chris is way past his prime. You know what? How many pay-per-views have we seen in the last 5 years that weren't really, both fighters weren't stars? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do well, and I think they know this, but they're going to do it anyway, man. They're going to do it anyway, you know? And he should fight Luis Ortiz, and he should. I've been wanting Ortiz to get into another good fight outside of Wilder. The only fights that PBC should even think about putting on pay-per-view is Spence versus Crawford, or or the Charlo Undisputed. Well, that's definitely going to be a pay-per-view. That's definitely going to be a Charlo. But you know what? People are going to complain about that too, because that's going to be Charlo Undisputed is going to be a pay-per-view, but Brian Castano is not a star, you know? So that goes, people are going to complain anyway, because they're going to be like, Brian Castano, who is he, you know? Guy that beat, you know, had a draw with Lara, you know, people are gonna complain anyway, you know. Spence versus Crawford. I mean, Spence had other pay-per-views without Crawford. So, and Crawford had pay-per-views without Spence. That's definitely going to be a pay-per-view, you know. But these guys already had pay-per-views, and they're probably going to have more pay-per-views in the future. I don't know if Crawford, his pay-per-views was against Postal and Khan, and neither one of them did great numbers. Spence, on the other hand, had better opponents as far as names. Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia was a pay-per-view. Better names, warranted a pay-per-view even more, even though people didn't want them to be pay-per-view neither. They're gonna make them regardless of what we say. Arlette, what's up? What's up? What's going on? Yeah, I don't know what's up with YouTube and the notifications. Sometimes people get them, sometimes they don't. I really don't know what's up with YouTube when it comes to the notifications. I posted this maybe in half hour before I went live though, so maybe that's part of the reason. Chisora is a pay-per-view regular because Chisora packs out. People love him out there. People love him out there. They're gonna pay. They're gonna pay, and they're gonna pack the arenas to see him. It is what it is. What following does Andy Ruiz have? The chips. What we're gonna see on this pay-per-view. We're gonna see if he has a following. Let's see how many of the Mexican community is gonna support him, because it's probably gonna be them, and they are the biggest or one of the biggest followings out in boxing. So let's see if they support him. But I don't think they're looking to do just respectable numbers on free TV. I don't think I see you, Jiho Park. I don't think they're looking to do respectable numbers on TV. I think they usually, when they put fights on free TV, is because they just trying to get more awareness of the fighter before they try to land him on pay-per-view. They know that Callum Plant is likely to be a future Canelo opponent. So they were pushing him on Fox to try to build up, his name. So when he fights Canelo, they can work out a pay-per-view type of fight. All right. A lot of questions. Nurgen, thank you for the super chat. Am I covering the pay-per-view fight? Listen, I always try to cover as many fights as I can. So I don't know. I don't know. I gotta see. I have real life going on, so I'm gonna try to cover this fight. But is it a great fight? It's a good fight. It's a fight that should happen. Two guys coming off a loss. But this is not a priority to me. No, it isn't. It's not a priority. Certain fights are a priority. I have to clear out my schedule to make sure I'm here to cover it, no matter what. And this is what I don't view this as a priority to me. I just don't. There are certain fights, like I know Estrada and Chocolatito is probably not going to be as talked about, but that's a fight that I don't want to mix under any circumstances. That would be a priority. I'm not going to be in town for that fight, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to cover it. I'm going to pack my equipment here and make sure that I can try to view it in some way. But that is more of a priority fight, over Ruiz and Arreola. All right, because we already know the outcome of that fight. So I try to cover as much as I can. Yeah, Estrada and Chocolatito is a high level fight. That's an elite level fight. Not by popularity. I'm just talking about the actual fighters themselves. That is a real fight. Lewis, thank you. Appreciate it. I try to do the best that I can, and I do what I can. If I'm here, I could cover the fight. If not, then Smooth Will, what's up, man? Punch Quote, everybody that's here. A fight fans fight, absolutely. Who you guys got winning that fight? Who you guys got winning? Strada and Chocolatito. How do you guys see it going? I could tell you based on the last two performances because I was really trying to decide while covering the last fight they had on the same card. I'm kind of leaning towards Estrada. I'm kind of leaning towards him, you know. But I know once, and I'm gonna start this week. I know when I start rewatching some of their older fights, especially going back to their first fight, which was a long time ago, I might change my mind as I study the two. I'm gonna have to go and rewatch it. And that's what I normally do when I do a breakdown. I go back and rewatch things that I might notice that I didn't notice before, or just basing it on the styles and stuff like that. Um, but I'm leaning towards Estrada, man. I'm leaning towards Estrada, but I still do think that it's 50-50. Yeah, Noah, I agree with you. I think my brain is telling me Estrada, but I think my heart is with Chocolatito because Chocolatito, for me personally, and I've said this before, um, I I started really paying attention on the smaller channels. I mean, I'm not the smaller channels, the smaller boxers of smaller divisions because of him. Because of him. Like once I started watching him, I started paying attention to everybody else down at those divisions, from at 112, 115, 118. I think because of him is part of the reason why I started really focusing on all the other divisions below 122. Because at one point I wasn't really making videos on the divisions below 122 until like maybe 4 years ago, I think the first 2-3 years I wasn't making videos on the boxers that was below 122. And then I think once I started paying attention to Chocolatito and started paying attention to all the other fighters in those divisions, I think that's I kind of like I have a lot of love for him. So I definitely want to I kind of want him to win. Like I'm rooting for him to win. I was happy that he came back and won, but I don't know. Estrada's been boxing really, really well. And I think he's improved since their first clash. And, but I think it's 50-50 still. I see most of you guys are picking Estrada to win. Yeah, I was definitely leaning towards Miguel Berchelt. Berchelt got destroyed, man. But Oscar Valdez, he looked great. When's the last time we see Valdez box that good? It's been a long time. Like Valdez he was fighting like a slugger for a minute. Valdez looked like the guy he looked like when he was a prospect. When he was a prospect and he was outboxing and knocking guys out. That's what I liked in Valdez. That's what I saw in this fight. But there was a period where Valdez was just getting like he was just going to war and he was becoming robotic. And he turned back the time and went back to his old ways. And that was a very good, impressive win, and Berchelt looked like robotic. Berchelt was the one coming forward aggressively, throwing a bunch of punches, but nothing meaningful, not moving his head, getting caught with every jab that was thrown his way. It's coming in a straight line. It was just bad. It was bad. Yeah. But most people picked him. Most people did pick Valdez, not Valdez, but Berchelt to win that fight. Yeah. All right, yo, guys, I'm out of here. Not a long day. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Haney, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about Andy Ruiz and stuff. I'm expecting Andy Ruiz to stop him maybe within 6. Chris is good, good fighter, but I think this is gonna be his retirement fight. I think this is gonna be his last one before he goes. I think Andy Ruiz is going to retire him. And as far as Haney and Loma is concerned, I think this is just a bunch of Twitter stuff. But I hope that if they both win their next fight, hopefully those two could fight each other because it's still a very meaningful fight for both. And hopefully this is just not a Twitter thing, because I don't think T.O. is gonna fight neither next. I don't see Ryan Garcia fighting either one of them next or this year. And I don't even see Tank fight either one of them next. So I think it would be good if both of them gonna win their next fights, tough fights, and Nakatani's tough, and the Norris is tough. But if they can win those fights, they should face each other in 2021 and decide, and we can go on from there. All right. All right, so that's it, man. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. And if you haven't, also subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next live. Peace.